Wouldn't it be great to use your MP100 and the MIDI Commander to control Ableton Live, setting up presets for MIDI mappings and store and recall those mappings, having dynamic mappings regarding where you are in your set, triggering a different thing with the same button. Hi, I'm Toby from abletondrummer.com, and it's possible now. I created a Max for Live device which you can use to set up your MP100 or your MIDI Commander to control Ableton Live in a really dynamic and cool way. So this video is gonna get quite long because I'm gonna go through all the different things here, but in the beginning I'm just gonna explain the general concept and give you some overview here. Okay, so first of all you need to buy my Max for Live device. Max for Live is included in Ableton Live Suite or can be bought as an add-on towards Ableton Live Standard. You can then just drag and drop this device onto an empty MIDI track here, and you can see this thing is already on here, and you can click on open, and there it is. This is the interface for the foot control device here. So first let us set up a few MIDI things. So in our preferences we need to make sure to receive the MIDI here from the TS MIDI 2.0. so you want to make sure you have the track input switched on. Make sure that the out port is deactivated because you don't want to send anything to the device. You're just receiving from the device. It can't receive anything anyways. Okay, so now you just select the port here. So you can use a 5-pin MIDI connection as well. So if you're working on bigger stages, obviously it makes sense not to connect it via the USB. So you can just use it, the USB to power the MP100 or the MIDI Commander, and then you make a 5-pin MIDI connection on the back here, and you can run it via quite some distances if you need to. Okay, so now this is all set up in Ableton Live. Just make sure to set the monitor to in, and let's select no output for the MIDI, just keeping everything clean and simple. On the MP100 itself, you are able to select different internal presets. So just to show you, you can turn it off and maybe select C, turn it on, and it will go now into the custom one mapping. So you are actually able to set up MIDI notes and MIDI CC commands into those presets, but to be honest it takes a little while to set up things, and you only have 2 presets on here. With my device you get 128 presets you can recall in one session here. So what you need to do is you want to select a certain internal preset here which is needed to work with my device. So you want to switch it off, hold down A, turn it on, and then the MIDI Commander or MP100, which is actually the same device, it's just from a different company, labeled different here. So the MP100 will show SCN-7, so this is a certain preset for a certain guitar effect rack here, but we're gonna use this one for Ableton now. And we can see if we are switching presets here, we should receive MIDI here already. We can see this in the top right corner, and we can see that on the channel here as well. Maybe let's deselect the input on this channel just to make sure we are not interfering with any MIDI messages here. So we are now seeing this is already being received, and we can start to set up the MIDI foot control device here. So we have an action menu, and we can select a lot of different actions here. So let's start with something really easy. Maybe let's just set up the transport. So if things should start, the overall start thing for your Ableton Live set as well. So I selected the transport here, and now I can go to one of those 8 slots here and press S for sync or for store. And boom, this is being taken now to be triggered by my number 3 button here. So if I now press this, you can see and you can hear the metronome running, and I can start and stop the transport here, and this will listen to the state of the transport here. So if I start the transport via my mouse and then stop here, it will stop it and not play it. So just to make sure you understand what's happening here. So now maybe let's set up the metronome on and off here, because maybe you don't want the metronome to happen all the time. So I'll select this in the action menu. I press S on the button I want to send it to, and now I start the transport and I can turn off and on the metronome. So those are the control actions here at the bottom. I might want to navigate through my Ableton Live set here as well. So let's say I want to move up and down scenes. So I could select scene previous and set this up to this one here, and maybe do the scene next here on this one. And you can see now when I'm hitting those, it's selecting the different scenes here. Okay, so I can set up a lot of things here to navigate. I can set up locators as well. So the beauty here now would be, let's say I maybe have a certain, let's go to the locators here and move this one like this so we can see everything. So let's say I want to trigger a certain locator. So let's say I want to trigger one song, the first song here. I can go to locators, and I have a menu here with all the songs. If I'm creating a new locator, I need to hit refresh, or if I change the name, I hit refresh, and I get the menu updated here. So I could now select one song, and I could now map this to, let's say, this button here. Okay, so now when I'm hitting this button number 2, in this case, it's jumping to one song. So let's make this really obvious. I hit that again. It's jumping to this position here, to this locator. Okay, so this is the whole concept. If I would save this Ableton Live set now, it would be all stored in there, and this is like no big magic here. So far you could do this all via just changing the MIDI settings inside your MP100 or your MIDI Commander, and you would have those things being set up. But now comes the magic. You could actually go up via those up and down buttons here and move to a different preset. Okay, so let's say I have this preset here on 1, and if I want to trigger different things at a different part in my set, I could go up here, or I could automate the switch here as well, and then select those different things here. If I automate this, the numbers wouldn't change, but on the MIDI Commander or on the MP100, it would still show you number 1 if you automate this. So if I move this here, you can see if I move the preset selection via my mouse here, you can see it stays on the same, but it would still trigger the one which is selected. It's just the numbers wouldn't match up at this point. But if you do it via the buttons on the MP100 or MIDI Commander, it would match up here. Okay, cool. So let's say I want to have some controls. I want to be global. So let's say I want the previous scene and next scene to be globally. So they should apply to all different presets here. So I could lock this to be global. So if I now move up to number 2, I have those two things being mapped on here all the time. So if I would maybe say I want to trigger a different locator at this point here when I'm in preset number 2, let's really quickly set this up. Another song. Let's map this to number 2 here. So now if I'm hitting that, it's jumping to another song. If I go back to my preset 1, the same button would do the first song, one song called here. So this way I'm able to create a lot of different mappings here, jumping certain locators or doing some live looping even. So for the live looping, I will do another chapter here, because I have a one button live looper which is using tracks and scenes here for looping. So if you're into looping, I will do a separate video for that. I have a link in the video description here for that. Okay, so we now have all those different things being set up here. We have locators, we have scene fire, we have scene select. So let's explain this a little. So maybe let's go up one set here and let's set up a scene selection, which could be, let's select scene number Z, and let's set this up for this one here, so I can just quickly override that. So if I'm now hitting that button here, you can see scene Z will get selected. So that's a different command to fire a certain scene. So if I set scene fire and then select scene Z and then save this here, this means that if I hit button 3, now it will fire the selected scene, or it will fire scene Z. This is just selecting. So if a different scene is playing, it is selecting the scene, and then if I want scene Z to be fired, I can hit this there. I can even set up to have the fire selected scene as well. So if I want to let's set this up to this button B here. So now I could say, well, actually I want to cycle through, different scenes. So I'm selecting a scene here, and then I want to fire and to play this currently selected scene. I can now press B here. Okay, so this is real quick what I'm explaining here, because it's kind of like, if you're using Ableton Live already, you might have a certain concept on how to set up things and how to run things. Some people don't even use session view. They are all the time in arrangement view, and so obviously I'm not going to go through all those different functions here in detail, but it's pretty self-explanatory, I would say. Transferred, metronome, tapping the tempo, locator previous, locator next, so you can do those things here quite quick. So there are two more kind of control actions here I want to show you. So you have the map function here, for example. So mapping would mean you are mapping a parameter. So mapping could apply to track on and off, for example. So if I now select this track on and off, you can see speaker on is being selected. Now if I go to volume, it says track volume, and you can use those bindings. So the currently selected parameter will be detected, and you can map this to a button here as well. So maybe let's take this one here, speaker on, from my first track, and let's map this to this one here. So now if I'm hitting my button C here, you can see track on and off is being activated or deactivated. So this again is listening. So if I have an off state clicked via my mouse, selected via my mouse, and now if I hit that, it's turning it on. So it always does the opposite of what it's currently doing now. So via the mappings you are able, and this is really like for example for audio effects, if I quickly just select an audio effect, just some random stuff here, and place it on here, this mapping works really well for parameters. So if you want to turn on and off an effect, for example, let's quickly do this. We have a clean button here as well. So if I want to clean something or clear, it's a C button here. So let's say I want to map this button here, device on. It's showing now up here that this last parameter I touched with my mouse is being selected, bam, and now this is mapped to this button here. So if I now press it, you can see it's being turned on and off. Okay, so this way you are able to control quite a lot of things. So for example, if you want to automate some things which aren't accessible, you can actually use some stuff of my some devices of an automate pack here. Let me quickly have a look. It should be called automate arm. So if you want to arm a track, you can use different devices of mine. So those are packs or those are devices from a pack of mine, automate Ableton control. I put some links in the video description here as well. So this is actually doing, if we have some input here, for example, this is now automating the arming, because you can't natively map the arming on track itself. You need something in between. You need a device in between. So for example, automate arm track here could be a device you could use. So now if this parameter is selected and I map this to my button here, I could now even do those actions here. So I can even access parameters which aren't mappable natively in Ableton Live. Okay, so what else? We have the last one here, which is I could set up notes as well. Let's go one up just to show you. So if I want to play notes with my buttons, or if maybe I want to send out notes to other devices, so this would be my one button live looper thing I mentioned already. If you want a live loop, have a look in the video description. There will be a video linked. You can where you can see how you can use MIDI notes for controlling tracks and overdubbing on a live looper. So, but just to have this part in here as well, and to show the full action menu velocity you got in here, you could set up notes. So you can go to the notes field here and say, I want to play a C3 with this button here. So now if I press this button here, you can see a C3 or a note here is being triggered on that track. And I can get this MIDI from this track here or route this to a different place if I need to. Okay, so most of those actions, not the map parameter actions, they are individual to your set, but no, the note, the locators, locators going back and forth. So if you go locator next and locator previous, those actions, they are global and they will work in every Ableton Live set. So you could save this now here as a preset. Obviously the one song is bind to that set, because if you open up a new set, this mapping wouldn't work, because it's for this one particular locator. Same goes for if you map a certain session. Those are not being globally, but the transport, play, stop, previous scene, next scene, metronome, for example, those could be all saved as a preset. You can just drag and drop this device now here. So if we close this, and if you go to your user library, for example, and if you drag and drop this in here, you can copy and save this in your user library, and this way you can record this as a preset for your next Ableton Live set you are using, or just having different presets, devices with presets in here. Okay, so this is really quick and easy. Once you've set this up, you can use it straight away and it will work, and you can record those presets quick and easy for other Ableton Live sets here as well. So one more thing, if you want to change the size of this window here, you can do that. If you need it live, for example, if you want to have it displayed big, you can do this. You can save its position. So if you're placing it on a second screen, for example, or on a sidecar iPad thingy, just to have some visual feedback here, you can have this on your second screen, and you can save its position and you can recall the position. So if I'm going here, for example, and if I hit recall and this is the position, it will be recalled when you're opening the Ableton Live set after you saved it, obviously, and then reopening it again. So yeah, you can reset the position, and Yeah, that's the foot control, dynamic MIDI foot control amp for the MP100 and the MIDI Commander. I have more devices for different foot pedals and for different MIDI controllers. Check out the links in the video description just to find out more. So this is a pretty affordable foot controller here. Unfortunately, it has some limits with the just the MIDI you are able to set up internally, but with my Max for Live device, and if you're using it with Ableton Live and Max for Live, you can do a lot here, and you can use this to run your whole show. Great. Okay, so leave some comments if you have some questions. I'll make sure to answer them, and take care, and head over, links in the video description, to find out more about this device, prices, etc., and how to use it. Take care. Bye bye.